The thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Last night I was speaking to Omar X, a prominent Muslim poet and activist from Luton, and some of the reaction we got was quite negative towards him, quite negative towards his religion. So I just wanted to give him the opportunity to respond to that, and anyone else who wishes to join in. Omar, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
You caused quite a stir last night, as I predicted you would.
Well, sometimes it's tough for people to hear the truth.
Okay, the truth can take many forms, but what were some of the criticisms that you got last night? And I want to give you a chance to respond, because I think last night we were just inundated and it descended into a little bit of madness. So the criticisms and the responses you wanted to give that you didn't get the chance to give last night.
Forgive me, last night people didn't give their names. Well, most people it seemed that didn't, or they didn't have time to. So I would like to say and just make a few responses towards them, what they said. I just felt it was unfair, it was too much. Many of the guys now, and I want to break this down, and if they want to call back, they can. One of the men yesterday said that I think it was almost threatening, but I'm sure that wasn't. He seemed like a nice guy. I'm sure that wasn't his intention. He said, "We are going to see you. We are going to see you." Now, I know what he's trying to say, and if we supported what he thinks we support, and I thank him for admitting and just coming straight out and just saying, look, I know you don't endorse this, but look, he went further on and said that Jimmy Savile and all the other white pedophiles, they are gonna sort that out. That's in their community. And I would like to say to him, that's not in your community, that's in everyone's community. That's a problem in this country. We all live here. All these pedophiles that you have and you've been seeing on the TV and on just everywhere, there's many, many of them. And you were saying that we are not on the streets and we are not on the protesting and so on. No one's protesting. We don't, thankfully, this is not South Africa. We don't have this isn't one of those things that's happening, I think South Africa, a woman's raped every 3 seconds or something. Thankfully, we don't have those issues. And I've never seen an anti-rape protest in my entire life. So when you say, or when he says that he's protesting, or they are protesting and dealing with this, you're not protesting and dealing with this. And if there is an anti-Muslim grooming, yes, then I'll be there with you. But we don't have this. Where I live, we just don't have this kind of like anti-grooming and abusers and pedophiles, all this sort of stuff. Frankly, we don't have that. And this is why we don't protest. But don't think that we are not.
We got our first call of the night, and I want to welcome them. Hello, who's there?
Hi, Omar. Hi.
Okay, this is Return of the Mac. And Omar, you've got Mac involved now.
I just wanted a few clarifications. So, going back to a couple of conversations that you had, if you remember, you said about the, what was it, for the BAFTA nominee, and there was no black nominations or nominees.
Did Omar say that, did he?
Sorry?
Omar said that there were no black nominees for the BAFTAs.
And you said in that conversation that, it's a white man country, white man filmmaking, so why wouldn't it be...
Did I really say that? Did Lessons for Life say this is a white man country? You're going to get me banned, Mac.
Obviously, the black people have their own version as well, then we were speaking about it. But my point being is, yes, it was Lessons for Life, but what I'm trying to explain is the idea that I mean, even yesterday's when he started, he was like, "Oh, can't we? Like, this isn't in some sense isn't our country. I mean, the English, they have a history. I mean, that's phenomenon going from Sir Isaac Newton to, I mean, I can go down the list of names and achievements and all sorts. But at the end of the day, we're on their land. Like, even as
when you say we're on their land, Mac, where are you from? Why do you say we are on their land? Who's we and who's there? Who does the land belong to, and who are you?
No, well, I see it as we're at the end of the day, the Muslims, as they want to call it, the ideology. I think they were against. I mean, the whole point. Every teaching ideology. I mean, yesterday you were saying that poor people, and they were so poor, that's why they couldn't wear gold. But the women were wearing gold. Khadija had enormous amount of gold and wealth, and she was flaunting it. There was no
Mac,
problem there.
okay, we're not going to go too far down the road of who can wear gold and can't wear gold. You've just said we are on their land. Who do you mean by we, and who do you mean by there? And I'm going to let Triple T respond to that. So answer the question, please, Mac. Who do you mean by we, and who do you mean by their land?
Well, the native English.
Okay, so the land belongs to the native English, and we, the immigrant communities that live here, are living on borrowed land. Triple T, what do you think about that? I'm going to let you talk right now. Now you can talk. Go on, Omar.
Mac, hello, good evening. Look, this is not their land. This is your land. You were born here. You were raised here. Probably your family, everyone you know, was born here. Okay, perhaps.
But Omar X.
This is your country.
1 second, Omar X. 1 second, Omar X. I have to turn you down. Goodness. Isn't there a responsibility for the new migrants, the newly arrived foreigners, when they first arrive here, to integrate, not to just pitch up and say, right, I'm going to make this corner of Luton into my corner of Pakistan back home. You've come to this country, so it's time to integrate into this country and add to the fabric of the country and bring a bit of vibrance and civilization. By all means, have a takeaway Indian restaurant, but you need to integrate. Am I correct?
No.
If you don't integrate, we will disintegrate. Do you like that? It's a little. You can put that on a T-shirt. Integrate or disintegrate.
I completely agree with you, Julian. You can't turn around and say, "Oh, yeah, this road is going to be Sharia." You can't walk, you can't do that. It's not like you can't. It's not. It doesn't make sense. In some ways, these things are not the Islamic way of living. You're imposing on others, like you're becoming a tyrant yourself.
Now, Mac, do you mind if I share with our listenership where you're from, your background, loosely?
I'm Persian.
You're Persian.
Persian, yeah. But obviously...
now, could it be that your opinion is shaped by the fact that there are not many Persians in this country, and there are not enough Persians to turn a corner of Luton or anywhere else into a little Persia? Is that why you are more of an integrationist than someone of a Pakistani background, because there are many more Pakistanis in this country?
Well, Iranians would go to even Los Angeles. They've got a nickname, Iranians. They call it Tehran to this. They try and say it's like, because there's a lot of Iranians doing nose jobs in LA and Tehran. And so that's how, like, Iranians integrate. They don't have a problem in a sense, like, once they're out the country, if they're against the regime, which my family and I were, and obviously then we'd integrate, because we're not it's the theology or the mindset. Like,
Interesting.
this is what it is: divide and conquer. This is what, even within the sects of Muslims, they divide to conquer. You see what I mean? There's a sector Sunni, there's a sector Sufi, there's a Salafi, there's a Hanafi, there's a Maliki, there's all sects. Like even with Catholic, even there's Protestants, Catholic, there's Orthodox, there's Jehovah. So you see what I mean?
Sure. But I'm just wondering, do you sense that Iranians tend to integrate better when they arrive in the West than other Middle Easterners and people from the Asian subcontinent?
I believe so. And I believe that it's I don't know if it's the mindset. Once they leave, they realize that even Islamically speaking, the first thing you're meant to do is not be a tyrant. You're not meant to impose your ways upon others. At the end of the day, if it's not a Muslim country, do you see what I mean? It doesn't make sense just because of what I'll give you a part of Britain. Why? What have you done? I mean, the past is the past. If you're going to sit there and cry about the past, and what about the Black history, 400 years of slavery? You see what I mean? Like, the past is the past. Like, at the end of the day,
you don't think black people have a right to be upset that their ancestors were enslaved for 400 years?
If you feel racism, then you don't have to be here, for example, you're saying.
Yeah, I did pose that question to Omar X. I'm wondering, is the different experience of the Iranians or the Persians that you refer to them as shaped by the regime that they have at the moment in their country, which is a very strict interpretation of Islam being forced upon a population, you might say, and many of the people that have left that country perhaps were the more secular section of society. Would that be fair to say?
Well, yeah, in a way, but at the end of the day, you've got to remember our philosophers, I mean, as well as Aristotle and all that famous other Greek philosophers, you have Rumi, you have other Omar Khayyam, you have a lot of Persian poets, philosophers. So these there's one thing, if you're going through a hard time, it was a Persian king, I believe it was, and they said, the king goes, I want to get over this hardship, what can I do? And it was, this shall pass too, and they engraved it in the ring and gave it to him. And that became a cliche, this shall pass too. Now everyone uses it. Where does that come from? Again, so this is what I'm saying about Persians being able to integrate, because even Western philosophers sometimes can share the same sort of theology or the same mentality. Does that make sense?
Great. So Persians are great at integration. How is the multicultural experiment going in the Islamic Republic of Iran? How's that going at the moment?
That's madness. I can't make 2 cents out of that. That's why we left the country.
Because Iran is multicultural. People might not know that Iran has a great spectrum of different ethno-linguistic minorities and majorities in that country.
There's a Sunni community, believe it or not. There's of course. There's all types. I mean, they don't, for some reason, they don't like Baha'i as much, which I admit, I don't know why, but they do other like they don't mind. This is what I'm saying. It's with Persia, we don't have honor killings like Pakistan. It's a bit weird. I don't know where the tradition started or came from initially, but the Arabs used to bury their daughters, so the Prophet had to come and change that. So even with the Arabs, to some extent, but the Persians are never, the philosophy that we have is, where did you learn obedience? From the non-obedience. That's what he replies.
Superb. All right, Mac, we're gonna free up the line. I appreciate your insight into what's happening in Iran and what's not happening. We'll catch up again. All right. Omar wants to come back to what Max said, so by all means, go for it, Omar. You're back in.
Mac, if you can hear me, I don't know. For some reason,
You can hear you. He's out there.
Seems to be cutting off. Can you hear me, Mac?
Omar, he's watching in the chat. He can hear you. Say what you want to say.
Mac, you are the same as any human being in this country. Okay, there's no white person that's better than you. You are the same. You are equal. Don't have this inferiority complex.
Okay, Omar, you're through. Omar, you're through to another caller now. Welcome, another caller. Who's this?
Hello there, how are you?
Welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Yeah, you're speaking to Chris. I want to give you much respect for allowing freedom of speech.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you.
Last night, but thank you for the free speech, bro. I just want to say a few words first and foremost. Simon Harris passed away today or yesterday, so may he rest in peace. And of course, this is the anniversary, well, a few hours ago, about an hour ago, was the anniversary of the Manchester Arena terrorist attack and also Lee Rigby attack, which both of them conveniently came from Muslim terrorist attacks.
That's right. I hope the callers can hear you, the viewers rather. We've had the anniversary of both Lee Rigby and the Manchester Arena attack. Okay, and those were both Islamist attacks you're mentioning.
Sorry, I didn't hear that bit.
Sorry, I hope you can hear me clearly, caller. I'm just reiterating that you're mentioning two Islamist attacks that we've just had the anniversary of.
I don't think.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on those attacks? That came from the Muslim community.
Okay. Well, look, I hope you understand, and I'm sure you do, you sound like an intelligent chap, that it is a very, very small minority of Muslims who have the mindset that those murderers had, and we must call it out for what it is. People of all religions must condemn it, and we're all been pointing fingers at each other at the moment. I'm just trying to bring some unity. I'm trying to bring freedom of speech. I'm trying to listen to everyone, and I appreciate you appreciating that. Did you say Chris? Is Chris your name, sir?
Yeah, my name's Chris.
Yeah. Look, is there anything else you want to say? Any points that were brought up yesterday that you want to emphasise?
Well, we're talking about, obviously, you might there talk about paedophiles. There's paedophiles everywhere. We can all agree on that, and they should all be hung. But there's a difference with the Muslim community. I'm not blaming all Muslims, mate. I'm really not blaming all Muslims. The fact is, you do not get white. You don't get anyone else, any other religion. Well, as far as I'm aware, it's only the Muslim community are ringing up their fathers, their brothers, their cousins to get involved. And it's not just a one-off. It's happening a lot of the time. It's being reported that 85% of convicted grooming gangs in the UK are from a Pakistani origin. And I think we're about 2-3%. So that means we're about 4,000 overrepresented. And I think this is a big issue that needs to be tackled. We've now signed a petition. I'll let you answer it. We've now signed a petition over 100,000 to go to Parliament. They're refusing to reveal the grooming gang reports because I think we all know that it's going to come back heavily, suggesting that he's coming from the Muslim community. And now I believe because of the Prophet Muhammad had a history in having sex slaves that was non-Muslim, and that he's the moral compass, that this is where the problem stems from.
Okay, and it could be that. I'm not ruling anything out, but what I would say is when we find these correlations, for example, 99% of the grooming gang culprits are men. Maybe 90% of paedophiles are male. Is there something in the male that makes him predisposed to be a paedophile? Now, you're right. Now, I've looked at the numbers.
To a lot of British people, it's that they're not raping their own girls. They're specifically attacking our girls. Now, let's put it, for instance, all the British, a load of British people start moving to Pakistan or a Muslim country, and we would start raping your children. There would not just be me calling up. There'd would be a full-blown riot on the streets. We know this. Like there's riots on the streets of Muslims over the most petty things. Like Tommy, I'm not a fan of Tommy Robinson. He does an MEF campaign with children there, and a Muslim gang goes in a taxi. It's all over the newspapers as if it's some kind of rivalry. Yeah, and I'm not even a fan of Tommy Robinson. I'm part of the patriotic alternative movement, but I don't agree with Muslims going to attack his event, and then the media portray it to be like as if it's both of their fault. The police led the Muslim gang to the event, and I just think if it was the other way around, if it was the white British attacking Muslim girls, there'd be full-blown riots going on the streets. We condemn, like when Jimmy Savile's done it, I'm sure everyone in Jimmy Savile's family would condemn his actions. Like, he's not called up his brothers and fathers. Why is this happening? It's not just happening in England, it's happening all over Europe, and obviously in your own countries.
Now, I'm going to do another show on this when I look at the numbers more carefully. I had a quick look earlier today, and what I could see was, and it gets very hazy because sometimes police statistics on who is which race doesn't really add up, and being Asian doesn't mean necessarily you're from Pakistan, and I'm sure Chinese people are very upset to be referred to anything to do with the Asian grooming gangs, which is a name that's been thrown around. And we made the point last night, the majority of paedophiles in this country are white. That's not a surprise because 80% of the country is white. Just one moment. I'll get there. One moment. The point you make, and it's a valid point, is there is a disproportionate overrepresentation of British Asian men, primarily of a Muslim background, it would seem, for this British Asian Muslim, I'm saying. I'm predominantly British Asian Muslim.
I can't go to Pakistan tomorrow and have children call them Japanese. They might be by paper, by passport, but they're not. There's no such thing as a British Muslim.
Well, the law differs with you there.
We're looking at when I know white, then white people are going to be the highest in people, but we're living in a white country. Like in Jamaica, it'd be more blacks. But the fact is,
you've stumbled upon a disproportionate. Yeah, there is a problem. There is a problem for some reason within that community. Now, if we just look at it on the surface, if we're very poorly educated, we'll say, oh, well, they're all Asian. You've gone a little bit deeper and you've noticed not only are they all Asian, they are all Muslim. Maybe they're all a particular type of Muslim. Maybe they're all from a certain village somewhere in the back end of Pakistan where this sort of thing is approved of. But there will be a reason. There'll be a reason for this. You're speculating that the reason is, well, their religion tells them to do it. Maybe their interpretation of the religion tells them to do it. There's always interpretation of religion. And if some people have a sick interpretation of their religion, maybe that is a problem we need to look at.
The interpretation to English people, and obviously a lot of Muslims, that what they're saying is the correct way to do.
Well, I just want to emphasise that religion is always interpreted, and it may well be that these people have a sick interpretation of their religion. Not all people of that religion have it for some reason, and maybe it's nothing to do with the religion. Maybe it's something else we haven't stumbled upon, but we have to look at things as they appear, and if there is a problem within that community, then we all need to do something about it, just as the police acknowledged that they had a problem with racism in their police force, and they did something about it.
It's so different. It's two different cultures what's going on. Like, I don't think Islam is compatible with the West whatsoever. Also, what we need to look at is where we come from mutual ground is who's importing this culture into our culture. Who's responsible for it? I think that's where the common ground is, and I do believe is the Jews. The Jews are for mass migration to the West.
I'm going to, Chris, have to mention again that we cannot tar any particular religion all with the same brush and say it's the so-and-so or this or that. But if it is certain section of society who have a sick interpretation of their religion, then maybe. But that could be the case for any religion, the ones you mentioned or the ones that we've mentioned already.
I'm from Birmingham, like I said, I'm from Birmingham, as you can tell. I'm sure my good mates have been Muslims, and it's, I don't blame them more, but it's like, so you look at Poland, they've written what they got 0.1% or maybe 1% or something like that, and they've had no terrorist attacks. They don't have these green and gang issues. So I know, like, because obviously I would welcome you. You seem a nice guy, and you welcome free speech, and you're happy to have conversation. But say if there was none of you at all, then these issues would not be happening in our hands right now. And I'm not saying like this. So what I would suggest to do is, and a lot of people are coming here ripping our benefit system off. But I hope Pace Ethical Currency does get in power one day. I know it might be a dream, but and offer voluntary repatriation, where we would offer £15,000 per person to go back to their ancestral land.
All right, Chris, it's been a pleasure, and I hope we chat again.
It's been a pleasure, mate.
Okay, thank you.
I've got a show called Pace Ethical. I know you know a guy called Ralph Mussolini. I don't know if
Yes. He's a good friend of mine.
I'd love to get you on the show.
We'll talk again on another show. Thank you for your call. Thank you for your time and your views. Thank you very much. And look, we don't have to agree on everything in order to be friends, in order to be respectful. And I'm glad that Chris said he's got a few Muslim friends. Maybe he'll gain some more through this channel. I don't know. But I appreciated his call and his honesty. Omar X, if you're still there, you can respond to anything you heard there or anything else you want to share with us.
Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, the greatest human being that ever lived. That's who he was, the greatest human being that ever lived. Don't come around from Birmingham and say that, hey, he had sex slaves. You are a liar. That's what you are. You're a goddamn liar. Learn this and then ring back the show and I'll speak to you. Don't say things that you have no knowledge. Who said he has sex? What were their names? Where did they live? What town was he living in? What country was he in? What year did he have sex slaves? No,
the thing is,
man. You have Muslim friends and you say stuff like that? Just stop this nonsense and don't give me that rubbish. Learn a bit more about it and talk to me.
The thing is, Omar, someone mentioned to me the other day that non-Muslims don't read the Quran. They read the Muslims that they meet. So if this gentleman that we spoke to tonight has a warped view of Islam, I would imagine he got that from the Muslims that he encountered in his life. And then when he got a certain impression, he went to look for an explanation and he flicked through the pages and the pages and the pages of the book, which is a very thick book. And when he found a line here and there that he thought, well, maybe this could explain the behaviour, then he drew his own conclusions. But if he was met with only exceptional behaviour and respectful behaviour, maybe he wouldn't have drawn the conclusions that he came to. What do you think?
I'm being a bit too harsh on him, I guess. Overall, he seemed like a nice guy, if I'm being brutally honest. But that's putting that to aside. You are right. He could have done that, but he should learn this. Look, I meet chavs all the time.
Why is it his responsibility? Isn't it your responsibility as a Muslim, as an ambassador for the faith, if that's what you want to be, to offer him a...
It's his responsibility. I've met thousands of, perhaps throughout my 40 years on this earth, I've met perhaps hundreds of thousands of bad English people, and I've heard of, when I watch the news, and I've been watching the news for decades, and I'm hearing things about English people, bad English people, killing, murdering, raping, robbing. This is English people that I'm doing that. If I open the books of history, colonization, murder, rape all over this earth, you don't see me looking at white people and saying, yeah, you did this, or your people did this. I'm saying nothing of the sort.
Yeah, but maybe that's why you're such an angry young man. Are you angry because of what's happened to your ancestors?
I'm angry because people like this guy is saying things that are completely untrue.
I'm just suggesting that maybe he made those conclusions because of something he saw. And it's a vicious cycle, because now you're angry, he's angry, and this is just going to go on forever.
Can I not do the same then? I can do exactly the same, but I'm not doing the same. I'm taking the moral high ground, and he should too. He should take the moral high ground and say, look, hold on a second. Let me go to the imam, because the imams, they seem to be nice people. They seem to be okay and welcoming people. I haven't met any horrible imams so far. So just speak to one of them and say, look, I heard this. What do you think? Is this true? Where does it say it? What does it say? What's the context? Learn a bit about it. I'm not going around saying, when the chavs, when English people robbed my house, I didn't go around saying, yeah, look at English people, they're doing this, they're doing that. So I'm just...
The thing is, Omar, most English people are not religious, and they don't claim to be. Most people of a Muslim background, from my experience, they may not be religious at all, they may not read the Quran at all, but if you ask them, they still say they're Muslim. They're attached to that identity because it is what sets them apart, and it is a nice big club to be a part of, and something that they would want to retain. Even if they've lost all the morals and the virtues, they retain the identity. So the ignorant English person looks at the person with the label of Muslim, observes their behaviour, and says, well, that must be what it means to be a Muslim. We don't all have time to go and meet with an imam, especially during the lockdown.
No, it does. No, I'm not having that, because meeting an imam, you can even meet the imam without standing up, just using your fingertips online nowadays. So that's not a justifiable excuse. But I'm just telling you, just like them, they meet a bad Muslim, or they meet some Muslim when they went to school or whatever, and he seems to be a nutter, and then they just make a conclusion based on that. Look, I've met plenty of bad English people. Throughout my life, I have. But I have never said, hey, hold on, the white people, and I never said Christians, I said white people. Now they are white. You
racialize it. You give it a racial connotation, and he's giving it a religious connotation.
That's what I'm saying.
But the bottom line is, we are individuals. I think you should judge each individual as you find them. If you find a pattern, like the prevalence of Muslim men in what they call grooming gangs, you will tend to ask questions. Although I notice that we look at the religious label rather than the fact that they're men, rather than the age gap. We're not cussing out everyone who's in their mid-30s, are we? We've got one more caller, and this will be the last call of the night. Welcome, caller.
Sorry, guys. I just wanted to mention, you do know about the Wicca religion. I mean, the English they started. I mean, you heard of the Wicca's religion?
Yeah, you do. You do have that, Mac, and you can tell us all about it as we close this show.
I just thought I'd mention that, obviously mentioning religion. Well, obviously the English people, when they have their own religion, I mean, they wouldn't be so keen on other religions, is what I just like to point out as well.
Yeah, you know what? A lot of English people have gone back to their roots and said, I'm a Wiccan, I'm a pagan, I celebrate Halloween. These are the native faiths to these islands, much like the Zoroastrian faith, which I think is having a bit of a renaissance in Iran as well.
Yeah, but Mac, are you there?
I just wanted to point that out. I just wanted to put it out there. At the end of the day, it's not for like, I'm not trying to be racist or anything or anyone. I'm just mentioning, like, as in, well, they even have their own religion. Why would they want to adopt another religion?
Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ was from Bethlehem in Palestine. Why are you following a Middle Eastern religion? But it's been here for over 1,000 years now, so I guess it kind of feels like...
Mac, are you there? Can I...
Yeah, Mac's there. This has been Lessons for Life. Triple T's still going. We will do it all again soon. We were here. Thank you for watching. It's been Lessons for Life. Join me again. We were here. We're gone. Laters.